saying that loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. It's been 1 week since you looked at me, cocked your head to the side, and said I'm angry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. 7 minutes in Evan. Let's just get into this first topic right off the gate. We're blowing into it. Apparently, in Meade County, there is a high school dealing with a problem that kids are coming to school and identifying as cats. Listen, out of all the animals that you could identify as, you can go with a cat. All right, let's talk about it. Listen, I feel like this is so derivative. What it is it's boring. This is so derivative of the furry community. Okay, to just say you're taking a step further. You're saying I identify as a feline. Listen, it's already been done before. Like fucking Avril Lavigne said, chill out. It's all been done before. Take off all your furry clothes. Listen, stupid. It's weird. It's weird, and I have so many questions because where is this all going to go? We're going to hit a point in this world. Like, I think about this. I'm going to be ignorant to the next generation. I'm going to be ignorant to, my kids and their kids. Like, they're going to, like, that's all life is the progression of the next generation being offended by you. Hey, and maybe rightfully so. Maybe when I get to it one day, you find out that, our humankind, we find these cells in us where it's like, oh yeah, you can't, you're kind of a cat on the inside. You've probably met somebody in your life who you're like, yeah, that dude kind of was a pussy. Bars. Okay. Listen. I just think this isn't the only school that this was happening at. There's now this happening with little kids as well. This was a high school. But this was happening with I don't even know the age group, but it was like 5-6 years old. A kid want to identify as a cat and go to school and not talk and all of that. And they're trying to be understanding. I think it's just a weird world that we're living in where people were able to cancel and like get too far along. Like they kind of like stuffed a lot of stuff into the cancel culture that shouldn't have snuck through, and I think it set like a precedent of like, you can't have any pushback, if you gave people way too much power in their ability to cancel. I think now social media should have a thing set up where if you try to report too many people for bullying, like if you cry wolf too much, that should get you canceled. You just can't cry wolf and cry wolf and cry wolf. And especially when there's nothing going on, you find something offensive or bullying or hate speech. There needs to be something that you get reprimanded for. You have repercussions for your actions for trying to cancel someone because you didn't like it, or it's offensive to you because you live in a booble. Okay? Which brings me back to this whole cat thing. There was an anonymous grandmother told them that apparently, from what I understand, they're called furries. That's probably like a racial slur for kids now who identify as felines. They're like, actually, furries has a lot of negative stereotypes that we're just trying not to represent. Like meeting up in a hotel and fucking other critters and their shitters. Like, what is going on? Like, isn't that? I do think this grandma is being super ignorant. Like the furry community is different than these kids identifying as cats, right? Because these kids identifying as cats, they're living their life as cats. They're more of the lifestyle of a cat. That's what I'm getting from it. And these furries, the furries are kind of just wanting to fuck like animals. Okay, that's what it comes down to. And they want to do it all furred up. All right, they want to pretend they're a squirrel or a cat. I don't know if they let dogs into there because I feel like it might suspend belief too much. Like, you break the fourth wall. You're like, okay, we're going to pretend that a dog and a cat are getting along, or dogs and squirrels. unless you have like this unspoken thing going on between the dogs and the cats there, where like there's kind of a beef. The dogs are like kind of eyeballing the cats and the squirrels, but they're like keeping it cordial, at these furry conventions. That I could get behind. Would I ever be part of a furry community? Well, I'm a spoken for man, but I mean, back in my day, maybe in the name of science and exploration, you got to be open-minded, You never know where the line is unless you don't cross it a couple times. Who wants to end their life and be in their deathbed and being like, no, I'm glad I just stayed in my lane and I didn't do this. I'd probably rather live with that regret of waking up in the morning next to a squirrel and being like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done this. Feeling a little weird. Probably can't watch Animal Planet for about 6 months. I'd rather deal with that regret than the regret of never having tried it. And anytime you see a fox, you're just like, oh, why, Evan? Why did you do that? But it's also the spice of life. It adds a little seasoning on your story. It adds a little character to you, But back to this, these kids are identifying with animals, and these people will hiss at you or scratch you if they don't like something you're doing. Okay, well, see, now this I'm okay with. If you're going to commit, you got to commit to it. All right. If you're going to decide that you're a cat, you have to do all the cat stuff. All right. You don't get the best of both worlds. That's where I think people are getting selfish. All right. You can't be, I'm a human. I'm a cat. I'm a dog. I'm dead. I'm here. I'm alive. Fuck you. You can't be doing all this kind of bullshit of back and forth across the, enemy lines, because tell me this. How many squirrels you ever seen out there hanging out with humans? It's a very small percentage. It's the other team. And here's also the other silly part. If you're a cat, just don't go to school. When's the last time you saw a feline in science class? It doesn't happen, okay? And that's what we need to start thinking about is we need to respect people's choices. If you want to be whatever you want to be in this world, that's my policy. I don't care what someone does with their life. It has no effect on me. As long as it's not hurting anybody else, do whatever you got to do to get through. Whatever you got to do to satisfy that brain of yours, all right? Your soul, your heart, be whoever you want to be in this world. But if you're going to do it, you can't get selfish with it, and you got to be realistic. Someone who wants to identify as a cat, it's like Jafar with wanting to be a genie. Well, you got all the things that come along with being a genie. You want to be a cat? Well, here's the litter box too, sister. All right. That's how we need to start getting people to wake up out of this dream. Is someone wants to identify as a cat, we respect them, because this is what it is really, is when people want to start identifying as animals and this silly stuff, they're wanting to see how far they can push it. And that's fine by me. Listen, I'm someone who regrets never having visiting a furry convention. Huh? Who said that? Listen, push the limit, kid, but just know when that limit comes to you, gonna meet you halfway. All right? Because you want to be, okay. Well, since you won't be utilizing our bathrooms anymore, do you have a particular litter box? Where are we going to set that up? For lunch, a lot of the cats that we've seen on the premises, the janitor said they usually go after birds in the 300 quad. So we'll get you set up over there. We'll make it, you over there with some dead birds. You got to eat some dead birds. You got to weirdly throw up on the carpet for a minute. You know how they always do that whole dogs too. Okay. You know how respectful my dog is? My dog had to throw up and went to the door and waited to go outside and threw up on the grass. And you know what I said? I said, that's the most respectful goddamn dog I've ever seen in my life. Okay. Did I give her a cookie when she came back in the house? A little treat? No. Why? Because I'm responsible and I knew her stomach was a mess. All right. But yeah, if someone really wants to identify as a cat and they're like serious about this, where are we going as a species? Okay. Because people are branching off. All right. Because I think about this a lot. I think I mentioned it. I'm going to be ignorant to my kids. I am. It's just the way life is. As you grow up, and I try, listen, believe me, every day, I try my hardest to not stay, to not let, I feel like your mind and your life is like concrete. And you have to make sure that you keep things moving so things don't, the concrete doesn't harden. I'm like a fucking, concrete truck, the big spinny ones. I got to keep things moving, pimping. Okay. That's how my mind, I look at it. I got to throw some water, some knowledge, some wisdom, some new ideas in there. That's water. Okay. And I just got to keep it turning, because if you settle into what you think the world is and the way things are, it hardens. It hardens hard. Okay. Because I realize that's what the deciding factor is on life, is letting your mind harden to the point where you're not even open to new opportunities, new ideas. You get too close-minded on things and you miss out on a lot of stuff because you weren't open to those ideas. You weren't ready to, bridge that gap. And because I meet people, that's one thing that I always think about. We had the great Dr. Goodman on the podcast, the last episode. Shout out Mr. Eric Goodman, Foundation Training. Your boy has been doing it daily. Okay. Been working on my back, on my gorilla squats, on my good mornings. Listen, Dr. Eric Goodman is a legend. All right. Go on YouTube and just do his 12-minute foundation training. There's an original one, and then there's a current one, a new one that just came out. Alternate with them. I like the new one a lot. I've been trying to do it every single day. But he's a legend. Listen, that man, the stuff that they have is very good stuff. Even if you're not athletic and you don't like doing that kind of stuff, the longevity, the help that it can do with your body, great. But the point I'm making is I've met a lot of people farther along in life in the sauna. It's like a weird thing. Him and I were getting into it about the sauna. It's a huge part of my life. It is really, for me, it's almost like the equivalent of when tribes would just like sit around and talk. You would just get wisdom and kind of just shoot the shit. I would do that a lot in saunas. And I always noticed that there was some adults, like age doesn't have to do much with it. Experience and everything, yes. But there's some people you can tell that they let their concrete, their cement set in too far back in history. Too many years ago, they figured out what the world was to them and they locked in. They just fucking white knuckling it with their ideas, and they became, way too hardened in their belief system. And it stunts their growth. And then you meet some other older people who are super open-minded, and it's beautiful. You get to, it gives me hope when you meet someone who's older and they have a very open-minded look on life and the world. And I don't know what the point of any of this was, okay? It started off as, a joke, and then I think, we just got lost down that cat hole. Get it? But I'm going to be ignorant. I feel like each generation you're ignorant to your children, and then your children's children. They're going to just be like, well, that was grandpa. He went to Vietnam. It's that kind of thing. It's just, I feel, and you kind of feel like it's crazy because it's like, to them, it doesn't seem crazy what some of their ideas. Keep in mind, I don't have a crazy family tree where it's like they have some wacky ideas where I'm just like, what the hell? But you hear about it in different generations. But I just feel like with my kids and the kids after that, who knows what this whole cat thing is. What I'm getting at is there going to be a point where their friends are coming over and there's like a friend with a like collar on, and they're just like, hey, this is Tabitha. And I'm just like, oh, hello, Tabitha. And they're going to be like, no, Tabitha doesn't talk. Tabby's a cat. And then this cat person is there standing there offended. And I'm just like, hey, what? And they're just like, yeah, why would you be so ignorant to that? She's clearly a cat. And then like I realize there's a little nose drawn on, there's whiskers, little cat ears. And I'm just like, well, what's going on here? And then their friend proceeds to pee on the carpet. And they're like, you need to normalize this. Like, I feel like that's what my future's going to be, is something that I can't wrap my head around, and that I think that's my limit. I think that's the line where it's just like, nope, I can't do it. It might be that realm. Okay. Everything else I'm cool with, but it might be when you start wanting to identify as an animal, unless you stick with it, you commit to that fully. Hey, I'll scratch you behind the ear. I'll be supportive, put a little saucer of milk. That's also the other thing is, what if that's your kid? Like, what if you start finding human-sized turds on the carpet in the middle of the night and you're just like, oh no, it's happening. And then it's just like, they're just trying to be a cat. Like, what do you do then? How do you handle that as a parent when you got a little cat boy running around? Okay. Keep in mind, your boy, listen. I just had a mind-blowing moment that I was that cat boy. Listen, your boy was, I don't know if you know this, but I was homeschooled for part of my life. And I credit it with my weird feral ability to be creative and just kind of like conjure up ideas, because I don't have a traditional school mindset of just, those early years. But it's a trade-off. I'm also a weirdo, all right? And one of those things is I would just wake up on a Tuesday and be like, I'm going to go fuck with the mailman. I'm going to dress up like a cat. It's Tuesday, and I'm going to dress up and I'm going to go fuck with him. That's what I did on Tuesdays, okay? I'd dress up like a tree or like a cat. I'd climb in the tree. I'd have toilet paper for a tail, and I would be meowing at the mailman when he drove by. And one time, I thought I fucking got him, okay? And he was just playing along. He goes, whoa, that's a pretty crazy cat in that tree. And I went, you stupid motherfucker. You fell for this. And I was just laughing to myself. Bless his heart. He was like, that special needs kid, I know I just made his month by doing that, And I'm sure he drove 1 block away, pulled over and called social services, a little CPS, and was just like, these people, they have a cat, a kid in the tree, cat calling. No, he's making actual cat sounds, Probably happened a couple times. He at least thought about it. But I just think about it because this is something that people are dealing with now, is their kids wanting to identify as animals. How do you handle that? What talk do you just be fully acceptable, or do you try to shake reality out of them? Anyway, we did almost like 18 minutes on cats and people. So let's move the fuck on, huh? This was a story that I was actually very excited about. I've been sitting on this one, and listen, as a former restaurant waiter, I don't know if waiter and waitress and server are offensive anymore. You never know what these people are dealing with. You know what is offensive? When people working a cash register with an iPad they even give you the option for 20%. You know how disrespectful that is to the server at Applebee's breaking their back to bringing your half off apps? That you're going to give them 20% for just turning an iPad around? This goddamn kids in their generation, I tell you. But I worked in the restaurant industry, so I have a lot of thoughts about this. There was a Hooters waitress who apparently was taken to jail for putting hot wings up her vagina when customers were rude to her. I want that to marinate with you for a second. No pun intended. This waitress, listen, let's role play this. Okay, let's role play the mindset of someone who does this. I'm walking out. I don't even have the wings yet. I'm walking out. I go up to, hey guys, welcome to Hooters. How are we doing, fellas? Hi. Whatever I got to do to get tips. Okay, and what will you have? Okay, yeah. And would you like those breaded or traditional? Okay. And then the guy's like, no, I want lemon pepper. Okay. And she's like, okay. She walks to the back, orders the lemon pepper. And she goes, this motherfucker think he's getting lemon pepper. Yeah. I'll add some sour shit in there for you. You like a little acidity? Okay. Hold up. Say no more, fam. She takes a hot wing. Where does she have a dressing station where she's like, this is where I spice it up like a little emerald. She's just like, bam, adding the flavor to it. Little hot ones challenge. Here's the thing. Do you know that quote that bitterness or resentment is like taking a poison or drinking poison that was meant for somebody else? You know, there's that quote where it's like, bitterness is drinking poison that you want somebody else to drink. Because here's what I think. You take some hot wings and you shove them up your vajayjay. It's just a cool name to call it. Who's really paying the price there? Granted, that's pretty disgusting for a random, you're like eating a wing and you're just like, what? Are you like, it has to taste different than all the wings? Or is she putting all the wings up there? Okay. And what flavors are you doing this with? Because you're giving yourself a bad time. You're going to do that. Like, what? Where do you go from there? How do you get caught? That's what I always think about with situations like this is how did we find this out? Did a waiter complain? And they were like, listen, there's something fishy about these wings. Bars. There's something fishy going on here, you know? How many yeast infections do you get from that as well? I don't know much about that world, but I just feel like that's a yeast infection ready to happen. That is a chicken wing. That is a Hooters induced yeast infection. All right. And do you just continue your shift after? How many times, because that's what they always say is with cheaters and stuff, they go, how many times did it happen without getting caught? How many wings went up there before she was caught? Baker's dozen? You think we hit triple digits? Could you imagine if she had done this with over 100 wings? Now, is she doing just flats or are we getting drumsticks up there? Okay. Are we satisfying a weird fetish too? Because girls can't be creeps. Listen, girls are creeps too. You don't think that she might get off on that and just being like, yeah, eat that fucking wing, you pervert. I don't know what she called him. All right. But she would do this to people who are rude to her. You know, there's some guys out there like, damn, what do you do to guys you love? Or they would just go there to be rude to her. And then I had this idea that if she was doing this to people who tried to order boneless wings, where's the crime? Where's the crime? Slow down. Where's the fire? You know, I don't see a problem with that. I feel like that actually should be mandatory. If you try to order some dumb shit like boneless wings and call them wings, just ask for the chicken nuggets. All right. People, you know, I get posts sent to me all the time. Chicken wing memes. I love them. Keep sending them. But some people, you know, they don't respect the passion that goes into trying to draw a hard line into what a chicken wing is. All right. Some people don't respect that world. That's fine. You can have your opinion, but you just need to know this is like the person identifying as a cat, wrapping it all back up together. Okay. You got to put a hard line in what is, or how far are we going to let people stray from God? All right. Because that's what we're doing with the chicken wing. All right. Every time you call a chicken nugget a boneless wing, we take one step further away from God. Okay. And I don't want to see that world where we see everybody not caring that people call chicken nuggets boneless wings. All right. That we start respecting people who eat boneless wings. All right. I'll be here holding it down on my light tower, just every time spinning around, preaching the gospel about it's not even a chicken wing. All right. So if thinking about it though, it might be easier to get chicken nuggets up there for her safety and like health code violations. Because that's a whole different can of worms. So you start even thinking about the health code violations. And what happens to her now? Like, how long does she go to jail for? That's a real thing. Is what there's going to be a lawsuit. There's going to be a trial. Listen, I go to Hooters and I order some chicken wings, and a waitress just decides today's my day, and I get that extra loaded wing with all the fixins. Dude, we're gonna have some problems. Okay. I'm not okay with that. All right. You get it with the extra white sauce on it. You're just chewing into that thing. You're like, hey, I think there's Parmesan cheese on this fucking lemon pepper wing. Okay. It's not going to be okay. I'm going to seek reparations for that situation. All right. I'm going to go after that establishment. I'm going to go after Hooters for one reason. You don't have good wings. All right. There, I said it. I've eaten at Hooters once in my life, and I was excited about it because I said, I'm a connoisseur of wings. So I got a nice order of wings, some of the worst wings I've ever had in my life. And I'd heard for years that Hooters was great wings. It was terrible. It was terrible. It was some of the worst wings I've ever had. Best wings I've ever had in my life, Wing Nuts. If you're near a Wing Nuts, I know they used to have one in Costa Mesa. It's gone now. I was single-handedly keeping that restaurant in service, and they shut down recently. They didn't make it through the pandy because I abandoned them, and I have to live through that every day. Okay? It makes you wonder, like when these things happen with this chicken wing situation, how often does this happen? How many other places have you been where someone did something to your food where you just never realized it? That's why, listen, I worked in a restaurant. There's stories I'll take to the grave with me. Okay? Unless you DM me and you send me $5, I'll tell you fucking everything. I'll tell you everything. But you gotta be good to the people who handle your food. That is the worst situation to decide that you're going to have a God complex. That the day that you're going to decide you're going to take out all your misery on a waiter or waitress. If you identify as a cat, you shouldn't even be allowed to go to restaurants anymore. There, I said it. Okay? There, I said it. I definitely had that when I was in restaurants. People who would come in just to take out their bad day on you. Homie didn't play that shit. Okay. On like one of the first days I was ever there, I had this miserable old couple come in, and this lady ordered 3 glasses. She wanted an entire cup of ice, a half a cup of ice, a 3/4 of a cup full of regular water, and an iced tea with no ice. I had to bring this bitch like 4 glasses. Okay. I bring it over to her, and I did something wrong. Still to this day, I still don't know. I think I brought too much iced tea because my dumbass brain should have known that there wouldn't be enough room to fill up the cup. Oh, I'm sorry I brought you extra iced tea. But then she was so upset about that she called the manager over. And since I was brand new, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm getting fired on like my first week. The manager went over, talked to him, was like, I'm so sorry that it did that, blah, 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 blah. And then came up to me after and was like, yeah, don't worry about it. They come in here usually like once a week, and they complain every single time. And I'm just like, what miserable people, you know? Did I put their vagina or that was a weird slip. Did I put their, maybe we should just abandon that bit because it was going nowhere. It probably wasn't good for ever getting sponsors on this podcast. But did I put their chicken wing up my asshole? Maybe. Okay. They didn't get chicken wings. I don't think their palate allowed for that much zest. So I would have just wasted that grenade on them. You got to save that for some real things, some real stuff. You don't just pull that out the first time. You just don't pull that out for a regular rude customer. I still want to know how many wings she did it with. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, had a great week. I think we're going to experiment with going down to one episode a week, doing a different kind of episode, and bringing on more guests. Okay. We're going to start doing more content, different kinds of content, neat stuff, slick stuff, hot stuff for you kids out there. All right. Not real kids, because this is an adult podcast. Okay. But you know what I'm saying. I also got to say this just feels like it should be an honorable mention. I'm going on my 7th day of eating a burger every single day. I just need you guys to know with what kind of monster you're dealing with. I'm a menace to society. All right. 7 days, 7 burgers. Who's doing it better than me? No one. No one. Do I really even want a burger? But I got to get to 7 burgers in 7 days. It just is nice. I was going to stop at 6, but I thought, what's one more day to just have a week of burgers, you know? And you might be thinking, Evan, did you make burgers? What is this? Listen, I did barbecue, so I have leftovers. I've been eating. 2 of them are going to be from a barbecue. But listen, 5 different establishments. I ate their burgers night after night after night after night. Okay? No one is putting down the kind of beef in between bread that I am. Okay? No one in God's green earth is doing it like me. Maybe next week I have a mild heart attack. Maybe. But that's just the cost of a champion. Okay? You don't know where the line is unless you cross it. And that's what I'm doing in the burger game. Okay? I actually would love to start a segment where we go try food, where we go to these burger establishments and really wet our beak on them. You know, I just think that would be fun. Hot stuff, slick stuff, hot content, you know. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you found something that was silly. Maybe a little nugget somewhere in there. Maybe you'll think twice before you go to Hooters and give a waitress a hard time. You know, actually, shout out to her. She's like Batman. You know, you've seen the most recent Batman where people were, you know, doing crimes, but then they would get scared because in the shadows, they would just think Batman was there. Like when they're just like, he's in the shadows and he wasn't always there. That's how people are going to be now when they go to like a wing place and they think about being rude to the waitress. They think about that moment and they look off in the shadow and they're like, is that waitress there? And she's ready to take this basket of wings and just fucking flabbergast them a little bit, you know, just give them the old rumble tumble, extra fixin' sauce, you know, just Parmesan up these wings. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I need to be stopped. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode. If you haven't heard the last episode with Dr. Eric Goodman, it's a good one. No pun intended. But thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you next week. Remember, no matter what, I still love you.